In a heart-pounding moment, two guards tried to tear a brave nurse away from her son's graduation, but what happened next, when 10 Navy SEALs stepped in, will leave you speechless. Subscribe now to witness this unforgettable story of courage, love, and justice that silenced an entire room. The auditorium buzzed with anticipation, a sea of proud parents, siblings, and friends filling the rows of cushioned seats. The air was thick with the scent of fresh flowers and the faint hum of excitement as graduates in their crisp navy blue caps and gowns lined up backstage. Among the crowd sat Clara Thompson, a 42-year-old nurse who had spent the last 2 decades saving lives in the chaos of emergency rooms. Her hands, calloused from years of tireless work, clutched a small bouquet of roses she'd bought for her son Ethan, who was about to walk across the stage to receive his high school diploma. Clara's heart swelled with pride, but a knot of unease tightened in her stomach. She had made it here against all odds, and she wasn't supposed to be here at all. Clara had been on a 12-hour shift at St. Mary's Hospital when the call came. Ethan, her only child, had texted her a simple, "Mom, I wish you could be here." It wasn't a demand. Ethan never demanded anything. He knew the weight of her job, the endless nights she spent stitching wounds, calming panicked families, and holding the hands of those slipping away. But today was different. Today was the culmination of years of sacrifices, missed soccer games, late-night study sessions over FaceTime, and birthdays celebrated with a quick slice of cake in the hospital cafeteria. Clara had promised herself she wouldn't miss this. She'd swapped shifts, begged her supervisor, and driven straight from the hospital, still in her scrubs, to make it to the ceremony. Her eyes, heavy with exhaustion, sparkled with determination as she scanned the stage for Ethan. The principal's voice boomed through the microphone, welcoming everyone to the class of 2025 graduation. Clara's lips curved into a smile as she spotted Ethan in the line of graduates, his broad shoulders squared, his grin barely contained under his cap. He looked so much like his father, Marcus, a Marine who had died in Afghanistan when Ethan was just 6. Clara had raised him alone, pouring every ounce of her strength into giving him a life Marcus would have been proud of. She adjusted her scrubs, smoothing the wrinkles, and leaned forward, eager for the moment Ethan's name would be called. But then a shadow fell over her. 2 security guards, their uniforms crisp and their faces stern, approached her row. The taller one, a man with a buzz cut and a clipboard, leaned down and whispered, "Ma'am, you need to come with us." Clara's brow furrowed. "I'm sorry, what?" she asked, her voice low but firm. The second guard, shorter and broader, stepped closer, his hand resting on the radio clipped to his belt. "You're not supposed to be here," he said, his tone clipped. "You're on the restricted list. Let's go. Quietly." Clara's heart thudded. Restricted list. She hadn't done anything wrong. She was a nurse, a mother, here to see her son graduate. "There must be a mistake," she said, her voice steady despite the rising panic. "I'm Ethan Thompson's mother. I have every right to be here." The taller guard shook his head, his eyes cold. "Orders are orders, ma'am. You need to leave now or we'll escort you out." The people around her began to murmur, their eyes darting between Clara and the guards. A woman in a floral dress whispered to her husband, "What's going on?" Clara's cheeks flushed with embarrassment, but she held her ground. "I'm not leaving," she said, her voice rising just enough to draw more attention. "Not until I see my son walk that stage." The guards exchanged a glance, and the shorter one stepped forward, his hand now gripping her arm. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be," he said. Clara yanked her arm free, her years of handling combative patients giving her the strength to resist. "Don't touch me," she snapped. The auditorium grew quieter, the principal's voice faltering mid-sentence as heads turned. Ethan, still backstage, caught sight of the commotion and froze, his eyes locking onto his mother. Clara saw him, and her resolve hardened. She wasn't going anywhere. The taller guard reached for his radio, muttering something about backup. Clara's mind raced. Why was this happening? She hadn't received any notice, no warning. Was it the hospital? Had someone reported her for leaving her shift early, or was it something else entirely? Her thoughts were interrupted by a low, commanding voice from the back of the auditorium. "Let her go." The words cut through the tension like a blade. Every head turned. 10 men, dressed in civilian clothes but moving with the precision of a military unit, stood at the rear of the auditorium. Their presence was unmistakable. Broad shoulders, steely gazes, and an aura of authority that silenced the room. Clara recognized them instantly. They were Marcus's old unit, Navy SEALs, who had served with her husband, men who had promised to look after her and Ethan after Marcus's death. They called themselves the 10, a tight-knit group who had stayed in touch over the years, attending Ethan's birthdays, helping with car repairs, and quietly checking in on Clara when life got heavy. The leader, a grizzled man named Jack Ramsey, stepped forward. His salt-and-pepper beard framed a face weathered by years of combat, but his eyes burned with unwavering loyalty. "You heard me," Jack said, his voice calm but unyielding. "Let her go." The guards hesitated, their confidence wavering. The shorter one released Clara's arm, stepping back as if burned. The taller one, still clutching his clipboard, stammered, "This is a security matter, sir." "You don't understand." "I understand plenty," Jack interrupted, his voice low but carrying the weight of a man who had faced far worse than 2 rent-a-cops. "You're about to make a big mistake. That woman is family. And you don't mess with our family." The other 9 SEALs spread out, their movements silent but deliberate, forming a loose semicircle at the back of the room. The crowd watched, breathless, as the tension crackled like static. Clara's eyes met Jack's, and she mouthed a silent, "Thank you." She didn't know how they'd known she was in trouble, but she wasn't surprised. The 10 had a way of showing up when she needed them most. Ethan, still backstage, pushed through the line of graduates, ignoring the confused whispers of his classmates. "Mum!" he called, his voice breaking with worry. Clara held up a hand, signaling him to stay put. She didn't want him caught in this mess. The principal, a wiry man named Dr. Hargrove, stepped to the microphone, clearly flustered. "Please, everyone, let's remain calm. We'll resolve this quickly." He nodded to the guards, who seemed torn between following orders and retreating under the weight of the 10's presence. The taller guard, regaining some composure, said, "This is about protocol. She's not authorized to be here. We have documentation." "Show me," Jack demanded, stepping closer. The guard fumbled with his clipboard, pulling out a single sheet of paper. Jack snatched it, his eyes scanning the text. Clara craned her neck, catching a glimpse of her name typed in bold. Clara Thompson, restricted entry. Below it was a vague reference to security concerns and a signature from someone she didn't recognize. Jack's jaw tightened. "This is nonsense," he said, crumpling the paper and tossing it to the floor. "Who signed this?" The guard hesitated. "That's above my pay grade, sir." Jack's eyes narrowed. "Then get someone who's paid enough to explain it." The crowd murmured again, some nodding in approval, others whispering nervously. Clara felt a surge of gratitude, but also fear. This wasn't just about her anymore. Something bigger was at play, and she didn't know what. The shorter guard, clearly rattled, spoke into his radio. "We need the superintendent." Moments later, a woman in a sharp blazer strode into the auditorium. Superintendent Linda Voss was known for her no-nonsense approach, but even she seemed unnerved by the sight of 10 SEALs staring her down. "What's the issue here?" she asked, her voice clipped. Jack stepped forward, holding up the crumpled paper. "The issue is, you're trying to kick a mother out of her son's graduation for no good reason. Explain this." Voss took the paper, her eyes scanning it quickly. Her face paled slightly, but she recovered, straightening her shoulders. "This is a misunderstanding," she said, her tone diplomatic. "There was a report, anonymous, I'll admit, that Ms. Thompson posed a security risk. We have to take these things seriously." Clara's blood boiled. "A security risk," she said, standing now, her voice shaking with anger. "I've spent my life saving people. I've never hurt anyone. Who would say that about me?" Voss raised a hand, trying to placate her. "We're just following protocol, Ms. Thompson. I'm sure we can sort this out after the ceremony." "No," Clara cut in. "You sort it out now. I'm not leaving my son's graduation." The crowd erupted in scattered applause, a few parents shouting, "Let her stay!" Ethan, now at the edge of the stage, looked torn between joining his mother and staying put. Clara locked eyes with him, giving him a small nod to reassure him. Jack stepped closer to Voss, his voice dropping to a near whisper. "You've got 10 seconds to fix this, or we start digging. And trust me, ma'am, you don't want us digging." The other SEALs didn't move, but their presence was enough. Each man a silent promise of action if things went south. Voss swallowed hard, glancing at the guards, who looked like they wanted to be anywhere else. "Fine," she said finally. "Miss Thompson can stay, but we'll need to discuss this later." "No discussion needed," Jack said. "She stays, and this restricted list nonsense ends now." Voss nodded curtly, waving the guards off. They retreated, their faces red with embarrassment. The crowd cheered, a wave of relief washing over the auditorium. Clara sank back into her seat, her hands trembling. Jack gave her a small nod, and the 10 dispersed, taking seats at the back as if nothing had happened. Ethan, still on the stage, mouthed, "I love you," to his mother, and Clara's eyes filled with tears. The ceremony resumed, and when Ethan's name was called, Clara stood, clapping louder than anyone, her roses raised high. Ethan crossed the stage, his diploma in hand, and flashed her a grin that made every sacrifice worth it. But as the applause faded, Clara couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over. Who had put her on that list? And why? After the ceremony, Clara found Jack and the 10 outside, standing near their trucks in the parking lot. Ethan was with them, laughing as one of the SEALs, a burly man named Tom, ruffled his hair. "You okay?" Jack asked, his voice softer now. Clara nodded, but her eyes were distant. "Who would do this, Jack?" "I don't have enemies." Jack's face hardened. "Someone does. We'll find out who. Marcus would have wanted us to." Clara smiled faintly, grateful for their loyalty. "Thank you," she said. "All of you." Over the next few days, the 10 did what they did best, digging into the shadows. It didn't take long to uncover the truth. The anonymous tip had come from a disgruntled co-worker at the hospital, a nurse named Karen who had clashed with Clara over a promotion. Jealous of Clara's reputation and desperate to tarnish her, Karen had fabricated the security risk claim, using a forged document to get Clara barred from the graduation. When confronted, Karen crumbled, admitting her scheme. The hospital suspended her, and the school issued a formal apology to Clara. Clara never sought revenge. She went back to work, back to saving lives, and back to being the mother Ethan needed. But she never forgot the day 10 SEALs silenced a room for her, a reminder that family, blood or chosen, always has your back. Ethan framed his diploma and hung it above the fireplace, right next to a photo of Marcus. And every year, on the anniversary of that day, the 10 showed up at Clara's house with a bottle of whiskey and a promise. They'd always be there no matter what. What an incredible story of loyalty and love. We'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and let us know which part of this lovable country you're watching from. Your support keeps these stories alive, so hit that subscribe button and join our community for more.